This is absolutely nuclear. Roman Reigns just broke his silence after the devastating crown jewel defeat, and what he revealed in an explosive sit-down interview has sent shockwaves through the entire wrestling industry, exposing WWE secrets that management never wanted anyone to know. The tribal chief didn't just address his loss to Bronson Reed, he pulled back the curtain on years of backstage manipulation, contract disputes, creative battles, and power struggles that have been happening behind the scenes while fans were kept in the dark. And what makes this absolutely terrifying for WWE is that Roman is holding nothing back, naming names, revealing conversations, and exposing the truth about how this company really operates. I need you to drop a comment immediately if you think Roman Reigns just committed career suicide by exposing WWE's dirty secrets, because what he revealed in this interview could potentially get him fired, suspended, or blackballed from the wrestling industry forever. Roman talked about Vince McMahon's continued influence despite his retirement, he exposed Triple H's real feelings about certain wrestlers, he revealed how contract negotiations are actually weapons used to control talent, and he admitted that his entire tribal chief character was something he fought against for years before finally being forced to accept it. This isn't just breaking kayfabe, this is destroying the entire illusion of how WWE presents itself to the world. But before I break down every bombshell revelation from Roman's interview, before I show you the specific receipts he provided about backstage politics and creative decisions, and before I reveal WWE's panicked response to Roman going completely off script with these revelations, you need to smash that like button if you believe Roman Reigns just became the most dangerous person in WWE by choosing honesty over protecting the company's carefully crafted image. Because what I'm about to tell you about Roman's revelations regarding Paul Heyman's real role in WWE, the truth about the Bloodline storyline's creation, and the shocking details about why certain wrestlers get pushed while others get buried is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about professional wrestling. Let me start with the most explosive revelation from Roman's interview, because this single statement has WWE management in absolute panic mode right now. Roman revealed that his defeated crown jewel to Bronson Reed was not the finish he agreed to, and that WWE changed the ending without properly informing him until hours before the match. Roman said, "I was told for weeks that I was winning at Crown Jewel. The story was supposed to be about me overcoming adversity, surviving the betrayal, proving that the tribal chief is bigger than any manipulation. Then, the day of the event, I'm pulled aside and told the finish has changed. Bronson's going over. Paul's turning on me. And I need to make it work with no time to properly process or prepare." This revelation is catastrophic because it exposes how WWE treats even their biggest stars. If Roman Reigns, the man who carried this company for 5 years, who main event countless WrestleManias, who was positioned as the guy, can have his storyline changed at the last minute without proper consultation, then what does that say about how WWE treats everyone else on the roster? It confirms what many wrestlers have complained about for years, that WWE makes impulsive creative decisions that serve management's whims rather than what's best for the talent or the storylines. But Roman didn't stop there. He explained why the finish was changed, and this is where it gets even more disturbing. Roman claimed that certain members of WWE management wanted to humble him because they felt he had become too powerful backstage and was wielding too much influence over creative decisions. Roman said, "There are people in that company who believe that no wrestler should have the kind of leverage I had. They saw my success, my connection with the audience, my ability to draw money, and instead of appreciating it, they resented it. The crown jewel finish wasn't about what's best for business, it was about cutting me down to size, reminding me that I'm just talent, not management, and that they can take away everything I built whenever they want." The implications of this revelation are staggering. Roman is essentially accusing WWE management of sabotaging their own top star out of ego and insecurity. This isn't about storylines or character development, this is about a power struggle between talent and management, with management willing to damage their own product just to prove they're in control. Roman then dropped another bomb by revealing details about his contract negotiations. Roman disclosed that he's currently in the final year of his WWE contract and that negotiations for a new deal have been contentious and frustrating. Roman said WWE initially offered him a deal with significantly less guaranteed money than his current contract, despite him being objectively more valuable to the company now than he was when he signed his previous deal. Roman explained that WWE's negotiating strategy involves offering lowball deals to even top stars, forcing them to either accept less money than they're worth or risk becoming problems who get depushed or buried as punishment for not immediately accepting. Roman said, "They did this with multiple top wrestlers over the years. They wait until you're late in your contract, they make an offer they know is insulting, and then when you push back, they start subtly destroying your character on television. It's a psychological warfare tactic designed to make you feel desperate and accept whatever they're willing to give you." This revelation confirms what many wrestling insiders have suspected for years, that WWE uses creative decisions as leverage in contract negotiations. If you're not playing ball with the contract they want you to sign, suddenly your character starts losing matches, getting embarrassing storylines, or disappearing from television entirely. It's a system designed to control talent through fear and insecurity rather than fostering a collaborative partnership. Now let's talk about what Roman revealed regarding Vince McMahon's continued influence on WWE, because this is perhaps the most controversial aspect of the entire interview. Despite Vince officially retiring and Triple H taking over creative control, Roman claims that Vince still has significant input on major decisions and that his philosophy still dominates WWE's approach to business and storytelling. Roman said, "People think Vince is gone and everything has changed. The reality is more complicated. Vince still communicates with certain people in management. His ideas still get passed along and implemented. The new era everyone talks about is more like Vince's vision with a slightly different coat of paint. The fundamental approach, the last-minute changes, the controlling contracts, the ego-driven decisions, that's all still there because it's embedded in the company's DNA." This revelation is explosive because WWE has spent the past year marketing itself as fundamentally different under Triple H's leadership. They've promoted the idea that the company is now wrestler-friendly, that long-term storytelling is prioritized, that talent has more input and respect. Roman's claims suggest that this is largely marketing and that behind the scenes, it's still the same old WWE with the same old problems. Roman even got specific about certain creative decisions, claiming that the Paul Heyman betrayal angle was heavily influenced by Vince's input because Vince always believed that the shock of a manager betrayal generates instant heat regardless of whether it makes long-term sense. Roman argued that a more creative, patient approach would have served everyone better, but that WWE chose the shocking moment over sustainable storytelling because that's how they've always operated. Let me tell you about Roman's revelations regarding the Bloodline storyline, because this is where Roman got deeply personal and revealed information that changes how we understand one of WWE's most successful angles. Roman admitted that he fought against becoming the tribal chief character for months before finally accepting it out of necessity. Roman explained, "When they first pitched the tribal chief to me, I hated it. I thought it was going to be the same old Roman Reigns that fans rejected for years, the strong, silent, dominant guy who wins all the time. I wanted to do something different, something more nuanced and complex. But I was told in very clear terms that this was the role they saw for me, and if I didn't embrace it, they would find someone else who would. So I took the character and tried to add layers to it, tried to make it more than just a generic dominant heel." This revelation is heartbreaking because it shows that even Roman's most successful period, the tribal chief run that everyone praised as the best work of his career, was something he initially resisted and had to be essentially forced into. It raises questions about how many other wrestlers are being pushed into characters and storylines they don't believe in, simply because refusing means career consequences. Roman also revealed tensions within the Bloodline family regarding how the storyline portrayed them. Roman said that several family members were uncomfortable with how the story depicted Samoan family dynamics, feeling that it reinforced negative stereotypes about authoritarianism and toxic masculinity within Polynesian culture. Roman claimed he brought these concerns to WWE management multiple times, but was told that the story is working, the ratings are good, so we're not changing anything. This is a serious issue that WWE clearly didn't properly consider. Using someone's real cultural background and family connections as storyline fodder without adequately consulting with the people being represented is problematic at best and exploitative at worst. Roman's revelation suggests that WWE prioritized profit and entertainment value over cultural sensitivity and the comfort of the actual family members involved. Now let's discuss what Roman revealed about Paul Heyman's real role in WWE, because this information is fascinating and explains so much about how WWE operates. Roman disclosed that Paul Heyman is more than just a performer and manager, he's essentially a consultant and advisor to WWE management on storylines, character development, and talent evaluation. Roman said, "Paul has Triple H's ear, he has Nick Khan's ear, he influences major decisions about who gets pushed and who doesn't. When Paul advocates for a talent, that talent usually gets opportunities. When Paul doesn't believe in someone, that person struggles to break through regardless of their ability." Paul's role in WWE is much bigger than what you see on television, and that creates a power dynamic that can be both beneficial and problematic. Roman suggested that Paul Heyman's betrayal at Crown Jewel wasn't just a storyline decision, it was also Paul making a business decision about who he wanted to be associated with going forward. Roman claimed that Paul saw Bronson Reed as a project he could develop and that aligning with Reed serves Paul's interests within WWE's power structure better than staying with Roman, who already has established star power and doesn't need Paul the way a developing talent like Reed does. This revelation reframes the entire betrayal as not just a character decision but a meta-commentary on how wrestling actually works. It's Paul Heyman doing what Paul Heyman has always done, positioning himself with whoever serves his interests at any given moment. And Roman exposing this reality breaks the illusion and makes fans see the business side of wrestling in a way that WWE typically tries to hide. Roman also dropped bombshells about specific wrestlers and their situations in WWE. He revealed that several top stars are currently unhappy with their booking and are either considering leaving when their contracts expire or have already begun preliminary discussions with other promotions. Roman didn't name specific names, probably for legal reasons, but he said, "There are multiple wrestlers in WWE right now who are miserable, who feel undervalued, who know they could be doing so much more but are being held back by creative's inability to see their potential. And when these people eventually leave, WWE is going to act shocked and blame the wrestlers, when the reality is the company drove them away through mismanagement and ego." This statement is damning because it suggests WWE hasn't learned from the talent exodus that happened in recent years when multiple stars left for AEW or other promotions. Despite all the talk about WWE being more talent-friendly under new management, Roman's claims suggest that the fundamental problems remain and that more departures are likely in the future. Roman even addressed his own future, and this is where the interview got genuinely emotional. Roman said, "I don't know if I'm going to re-sign with WWE. For the first time in my career, I'm legitimately considering what it would be like to wrestle somewhere else, to work with different people, to have creative freedom that I've never really had in this company. I love WWE, it's been my home, but I'm tired of fighting the same battles over and over. I'm tired of being told I'm valued while being treated like I'm replaceable." The idea of Roman Reigns potentially leaving WWE is unthinkable to most fans, but Roman's comments suggest it's a real possibility. If WWE loses Roman Reigns, their biggest star, their most consistent draw, their most reliable main eventer, it would be a catastrophic blow to the company's credibility and business prospects. Let me share some information about WWE's response to Roman's interview, because the company went into crisis mode immediately after it aired. According to multiple sources, there were emergency meetings held at WWE headquarters with legal teams trying to determine if Roman violated any clauses in his contract by making these revelations. Some members of management wanted to take immediate action against Roman, whether that meant suspension, fine, or other consequences, but others argued that punishing Roman would only make the situation worse by confirming that everything he said was true. Triple H reportedly tried to reach Roman multiple times after the interview aired, but Roman allegedly refused to take the calls. Sources say that Roman feels betrayed by WWE management and isn't interested in hearing excuses or explanations until the company demonstrates through actions rather than words that they're willing to treat him with the respect he deserves. There are also reports that several other WWE wrestlers reached out to Roman to express support and share their own stories of mistreatment and frustration. This has WWE management terrified because they're worried about Roman becoming a symbol of talent frustration and potentially leading some kind of movement of wrestlers demanding better treatment. WWE released a brief official statement regarding Roman's interview, saying, "Roman Reigns is one of WWE's most valued superstars, and we respect his passion for the business. Some of the characterizations in his recent interview do not reflect the full context of our internal processes, and we look forward to continuing our positive working relationship with Roman." This statement is corporate speak that says absolutely nothing of substance while trying to minimize the damage. But fans and media aren't buying WWE's sanitized response. Wrestling journalists have been digging into Roman's claims, and many are finding corroboration from other sources. Multiple former WWE wrestlers have come forward to say that their experiences align with what Roman described: last-minute creative changes, contract negotiation tactics, creative punishment for not immediately accepting lowball deals. This is creating a public relations nightmare for WWE because it's undermining the carefully crafted narrative they've been building about being a changed, more talent-friendly company. Every time WWE tries to present itself as different from the Vince McMahon era, Roman's interview gets brought up as evidence that the fundamental problems remain. Now let's talk about what this means for Roman's character and his on-screen future. After making these revelations, how does WWE book Roman going forward? Do they acknowledge the interview as part of the storyline, blurring the lines between reality and fiction? Do they ignore it entirely and pretend it never happened? Do they punish Roman by burying his character as retaliation for speaking out? The most interesting option would be for WWE to lean into the controversy and make Roman's real-life frustrations part of his character. Imagine Roman cutting promos about being held back by management, about fighting against creative decisions, about exposing the hypocrisy of WWE's corporate structure. It would be meta-commentary that could create some of the most compelling television WWE has produced in years. But that requires WWE being secure enough to allow themselves to be criticized on their own programming, and based on their history, that seems unlikely. WWE typically wants to control the narrative completely, presenting themselves as the heroes of every story. Allowing Roman to air legitimate grievances would require acknowledging problems that WWE prefers to deny exist. The more likely scenario is that WWE tries to ignore the interview and hopes it blows over. They'll continue booking Roman in storylines that don't acknowledge the real-world controversy, hoping that fans eventually forget or stop caring about what Roman revealed. But this approach has risks too, because it creates a disconnect between what fans know is real and what they're being shown on television. There's also the possibility that WWE decides to make an example of Roman by depushing him or booking him to lose repeatedly as punishment for speaking out. This would be consistent with their historical approach to wrestlers who break from the script, but it would also be incredibly stupid from a business perspective. Roman is still one of their biggest draws, and deliberately damaging his value would only hurt WWE's own bottom line. Let me share some fascinating details about reaction from other promotions, because AEW, NJPW, and other companies are watching this situation very closely. There are reports that multiple promotions have already reached out to Roman's representatives to express interest in working with him if he decides to leave WWE when his contract expires. The idea of Roman Reigns working anywhere other than WWE would have been unthinkable just a few years ago, but his interview has made it a real possibility that other companies are taking seriously. AEW in particular would be extremely interested in signing Roman if he becomes available. Tony Khan has proven willing to spend big money on proven stars, and adding Roman Reigns to AEW's roster would be the biggest free agent signing in wrestling history since Hulk Hogan went to WCW. The mainstream attention and credibility it would bring to AEW would be immeasurable. But there are also questions about whether Roman would actually want to go to AEW or another promotion. Roman has spent his entire career in WWE, it's the only company he's ever worked for as a main roster talent. Leaving would mean stepping into the unknown, working with completely different styles and systems, potentially taking less money or working a busier schedule. It's a huge decision that Roman would need to carefully consider. NJPW would also be an incredibly interesting option for Roman. Imagine the tribal chief working matches against Okada, Naito, or other top New Japan talent. Roman's power-based style would translate well to strong style, and the marquee value of Roman Reigns in Japan would be massive. It's unlikely, but not impossible. Now let's discuss the bigger implications this interview has for the wrestling industry as a whole. Roman's willingness to speak honestly about WWE's problems could inspire other wrestlers to be more open about their experiences. We could see a wave of talent becoming more transparent about backstage issues, contract negotiations, creative frustrations, and management problems. This increased transparency could actually be good for wrestling long-term. If wrestlers feel empowered to speak honestly about their working conditions, it creates pressure on promotions to improve those conditions or risk public criticism and talent departures. It shifts power dynamics slightly more toward talent and away from management. But it also creates challenges for the suspension of disbelief that wrestling requires. When wrestlers regularly break kayfabe to discuss backstage politics and business realities, it makes it harder for fans to get fully invested in the storylines and characters. There's a balance between transparency and maintaining the illusion that makes wrestling special, and finding that balance is tricky. What Roman has done with this interview is essentially thrown a grenade into WWE's carefully controlled world. He's forced conversations that WWE didn't want to have, revealed information that WWE wanted to keep private, and created a situation where the reality of wrestling business is now inextricably linked with the fiction of wrestling storylines. Make sure you're subscribed to WrestlingNewsCC with all notifications on, because this story is rapidly evolving and I'll be bringing you every update, every reaction, every development as it happens. Roman Reigns breaking his silence has created the biggest wrestling controversy in years, and comprehensive coverage from someone who's not afraid to report the truth is absolutely essential. Drop a comment right now with your honest reaction to Roman's revelations. Do you believe everything he said? Do you think he went too far by exposing WWE's secrets? Are you hoping Roman leaves WWE and goes somewhere else, or do you want to see him stay and fight for change from within? Do you think WWE will retaliate against Roman for speaking out? I want to hear your perspective on this unprecedented situation. Smash that like button if you believe Roman Reigns is a hero for speaking truth to power and exposing how WWE really operates behind the scenes. Share this video with everyone who needs to understand the full context of what Roman revealed and why it's so significant for wrestling's future. This is WrestlingNewsCC, bringing you fearless coverage of the biggest story in wrestling. Roman Reigns has broken his silence, WWE's secrets have been exposed, and the entire wrestling industry is reeling from the revelations. Whether this leads to positive change or further conflict remains to be seen, but one thing is absolutely certain: professional wrestling will never be quite the same after Roman Reigns decided to tell the truth.